I have been writing a blog since 2013. It is a potpourri of stories of the 20th century and beyond. I personally love the lifestyle and history of the last 125 years or so. There are so many good tales and I have only touched a part of them so far. I will continue relating them to you. So if you like these stories, please subscribe. This is part 2 of the story of the CIA, Allen Dulles, and the assassination of President John Kennedy. While researching, I found the Dulles brothers fascinating and so will continue to feature them in other tales later on. We can now say without fear of contradiction that, thanks to the Warren Commission critics Oliver Stone and the Internet, the CIA's first version of the JFK story that the agency fully supported a serious investigation into the death of the president is now discredited and defunct according to the agency itself. This is a quote from Oliver Stone in 1991. This blog focuses on the relationship between President Kennedy and Allen Dulles. Along with their relationship is the global relations Dulles had set up in Southeast Asia, and Kennedy's potential sabotage of Dulles' covert affairs. Were the issues enough to line up an assassination plot against President John Kennedy? Allen Dulles ran the CIA from 1953 through November 29, 1961. When he was in charge, his brother John Foster Dulles was functioning as Secretary of State to President Dwight Eisenhower. It was reported there was little of the usual friction between the two agencies. When President Kennedy was in office, he issued an executive order placing Cold War psychological warfare programs under the control of his national security. He then issued presidential memoranda to implement presidential executive control over covert CIA operations through the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Kennedy wanted the release of information on Majestic 12 and the CIA covert operations sent to his office. Dulles responded with a letter including the statement, "For reasons of security, I cannot divulge pertinent data on some of the more sensitive aspects of Majestic 12. Activities which have been properly classified under the Atomic Energy Act of 1954. On April 17, 1961, 1,500 trained Cuban freedom fighters tried to oust Castro from power at the Bay of Pigs and failed. The CIA, who backed the operation and trained the troops, faced extreme scrutiny from President Kennedy. The president did not want to participate in this situation beforehand, but did go ahead in secret. That, along with failed coup d'état against French leader Charles de Gaulle, led to the firing of Allen Dulles as director of the CIA. That is another tale in itself. Allen Dulles had been an operator on the world stage since World War I, World War II, as well as being active in the Cold War. In 1954, he had set up an agreement with Britain and France to keep Southeast Asia out of the hands of the communists. Later, Winston Churchill changed his position, taking Britain out of the agreement, and later so did France, as they still were in control of parts of Indochina. That same year, the fight of Viet Minh Phu rebels made the area vulnerable to communist takeover. The CIA negotiated with leaders and political platforms for certain candidates that supported the West. They manipulated the certification of election results, as the CIA was heavily involved with Southeast Asian politics, meaning Allen Dulles was heavily involved. In November 1963, the CIA supported the Vietnamese generals who had staged a coup and set up a new American-approved regime. As I stated, President Kennedy wanted to place the CIA agency under the control of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. 2 days before he was assassinated, Kennedy had accepted an invitation from Indonesian President Sukarno to visit spring of 1964. Former CIA Director Allen Dulles had other plans for Indonesia, and Kennedy could foil them. Allen Dulles, though not active CIA at that time, though it is claimed he still ran the bureau, had planned a regime change in Indonesia through violence, to gain access to their natural resources. Dulles had lied to Kennedy and told him Indonesia did not have profitable resources. Indonesia has a valuable shipping lane next to the South China Sea, along with the largest copper and gold mine at Gerhard. Are these reasons enough for Dulles to have been considered a suspect in the assassination of Kennedy? Was President Kennedy a threat to the Americans' deep state? In a book called The Devil's Chessboard, several accusations were leveled at the former CIA director. Among the accusations were that any agency connection to Lee Harvey Oswald was buried. The same Lee Harvey Oswald who shouted, "I am just a patsy," while being led off by policemen. While Oswald was being arrested and killed, Allen Dulles was moved into the farm. The farm was a secret CIA facility in Virginia. It is also leveled that Allen Dulles served the American corporate and political elites. After the assassination of President Kennedy on November 22, 1963, a new president was sworn in. Lyndon B. Johnson became the 36th President of the United States on November 29, 1963. It is said that President Johnson appointed Allen Dulles to the commission that would investigate the former president's assassination. That Johnson deliberately steered the commission away from the CIA's involvement as he issued an Executive Order 11130 creating the President's Commission on the Assassination of President Kennedy, or the Warren Commission. The American people were told the commission was created to find out the truth about the assassination of John Kennedy. He appointed Chief Justice Earl Warren to head the commission and former CIA Director Allen Dulles. It is like hiring a fox to guard your henhouse. Allen Dulles even attempted to strong-arm former President Harry Truman when he dropped hints that an out-of-control CIA might have been involved in Kennedy's murder. Later, after the results of the Warren report were released, reports came out stating that the evidence given to the Warren Committee from the CIA might have been inaccurate. CIA Chief Historian David Robarg issued a report in 2014 stating, CIA officers were instructed to keep the agency focused on what the agency believed was the quote-unquote best truth at the time, that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone in killing John F. Kennedy. Are we really surprised that an agency steeped in the promotion of the U.S. without regulation and accountability could really assassinate a president?